The Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Around Kansas. And Frank's been talking about picnics, so I'm going to talk about bugs.
Well, before you do, they were attacked by a lot of bugs because they did this in May, and it was so humid and all that, they got eaten by the bugs. But you go ahead and talk about yours.
There's no end. There's no end. Well, I was walking through the Kansas Sampler Festival, a couple of weeks ago, when this very nice gentleman had a display about cicadas. And, we talk about locust year and, the emergence of the locust every year. They're not really locust. A locust is truly more like a grasshopper. I found out all this stuff lately. But this is cicada year, or locust year, as, we always called it in Kansas. So there is all kinds of information. This Magic Cicada website has all this information on when the different broods hatch out around the country. So I forget the number of the brood that we're in, but it'll be like in Oklahoma and Nebraska and Iowa and everything. And they have 13-year locusts, and they have 17-year locusts, and then they have the 1-year locusts, the annual locusts that come out every year. And I can remember as a kid, playing with those little shells. You remember the little shells they would leave behind?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were pretty scary looking, and you'd find them clinging to the trees and stuff. So I thought it was pretty interesting, and they can damage some crops. And the locust plan is to overwhelm with numbers. When they first emerge, there's so many of them, the birds are having a field day, but there's thousands of them. So eventually some of them survive to, come back again. But when they're young, they can really do some damage to some crops, especially young trees. So, they are kind of a force to be dealt with if you're growing stuff.
Okay, well, I'm going to hide my eyes for this one now.
All right, well, stay tuned.
Daddy was born in Locust year, 1935. At least that was locust year in the mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia. The first locust year I recall was 1969, when Daddy was 34 years old. I remember so well because we had a young peach orchard. My younger sister and I walked along the small trees, pulling the newly hatched locusts off and stuffing them into a paper bag, and then we burned them. It must have been busy work because this was by no means effective in clearing the orchard of the thousands of locusts who had waited so long to feast on these young trees. The noise was deafening. Like some science fiction movie where insects are taking over the world. As fate would have it, this is locust year in Kansas, and we will soon be inundated with the little creatures who are not locusts at all, but cicadas. Locusts are actually in the grasshopper family. But don't we have cicadas every year? We sure do, the dog days of summer cicadas who bless us every August. Other cicadas, however, only show up every 13 or 17 years. There are different broods in different parts of the country. The website, magicicada.org, reports that brood 4, the Kansan brood, will be emerging from mid to late May in Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, and Oklahoma. This is a 17-year cycle cicada and has a distinctive orange striping on the abdomen, not present in other species, for those of you who want to get up close and personal. When the cicada emerges from its shell, it is a virtual feast for birds and other small animals who enjoy a diet of insects. Eventually, though, these predators become gorged on the insects, and thousands of the cicadas survive to mate and ensure that another generation emerges in 17 years.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.